Okay, it's raining today and it's the federal election, so let's see who's going to be in charge, I guess, for the next few years. I guess there might not be any flying anyways, by the looks of it, so let's see what happens later. With that in mind, what did I read today? How about this first one? As you know, recently in around areas like Mount Everest, they had things like drones to make things more efficient. You can imagine traveling in places like that, but what happens if things go wrong? This one here says, one of Everest's new drones forced to make emergency landing. It says the drones used this year on Everest have not flown for the last 4 days. One of them was rumored to have crashed, but the facts are not so dramatic. Our drone's emergency parachute got auto-deployed at 6,000 meters due to a gust of high wind, so it landed near Camp 1. Engineer Raj Bikram Maharaj of Airlift Technology, the Nepal-based company in charge of operating the drones, told Explorers Web from base camp. It didn't crash, but one of the drone's arms broke on landing, he explained. It says the accident took place 4 days ago when high winds hit Everest and the progress of climbers and rope fixers ceased. Since then, the pilots have paused the drone flights while they investigate exactly what happened. We'll get the full details when we check the flight logs. And then with that, they have concerns like, how about this saying, can drones fall on the climbers' heads? I mean, that is one thing, where if it malfunctions, is it going to fall on people? But then again, it indicates here there's a parachute, so I would imagine that's kind of mitigated. It says the introduction of drones, which were tested last year on Everest for the first time, was unanimously popular among the Sherpa workers, but it also raised some questions about the safety of those below. This sounds weird too. It says these are not little personal drones, but 30-kilometer behemoths loaded with rubbish or gear. Do they mean 30 kilograms, for example? It says the prospect of one of them spiraling out of control toward a line of climbers in the Kumba icefall has crossed the mind of some of our readers. Luckily, the team operating the drones took steps to avoid that possibility. Saying here, we have set the drone's flight path away from the climber's route so that if any accident happens, it will harm no one. Well, a lot of places they judge drones just based on weight and so forth. Unfortunately here, as you guys know, we've lost all common sense where they started fear-mongering micro drones and stuff around various places like advertised events and so forth, huh? With that thought of people getting hurt, there's still a lot of news, unfortunately, about that incident that happened here recently where a person decided to drive his vehicle through a bunch of bystanders around the food truck area at the Lapu Lapu Day festival here in Vancouver. It was meant to be obviously a celebration of Filipino culture, and because of this, as you would imagine, a lot of people are coming forward with help and all that. But with that, there's a lot of people trying to scam people during these times. Can you believe that? So apparently what's going on is people are creating fake GoFundMe pages, for example, asking for donations as if they were a victim when in reality they aren't. They're just going to take people's money. So there was actually a warning from the Philippine Consulate General. So it says here, warning on fundraising campaigns claiming to raise funds on behalf of the victims of the Lapu Lapu Day incidents. It says it has come to the Philippine Consulate General's attention that certain individuals have set up GoFundMe pages claiming to raise funds to support the victims of the Lapu Lapu Day incident using a screen cap of the consulate's official message as a backdrop as part of its material on the said fundraising page. The public is advised that the Philippine Consulate General has not created any fundraising efforts nor has sanctioned any entities to raise funds on behalf of the victims of the Lapu Lapu Day incident. The public is also advised to exercise vigilance and prudence to avoid being victimized by the unscrupulous and malicious actors attempting to exploit this tragedy that has befallen the Filipino community in British Columbia. How scummy do you have to be to do stuff like this during these times? I guess it's a reminder, as they say, to stay vigilant, as there's a lot of people who just don't care. They just want to take people's money in every type of situation. And of course today the big news is the Canada federal election. So who's going to win? I think ultimately, just from everything I've heard, what it comes down to is, do you want more of the same? Like, you're happy with the way things are in the leadership? If so, just keep it the way it is. If not, then change is needed, and basically you need a new party, because what's interesting here in Canada, actually, there's no term limits per se in terms of how long someone could serve. So we've had like the same party per se for like what, almost a decade. So for fun, I asked, for example, the AI, who do you think is gonna win? They predict, for example, it'll be a liberal majority, with the conservative coming like what, second? They say the liberal is gonna have 185 seats and the conservative will have 136. Let's see if that pans out.
Omar, yes, as you just mentioned, we have entered a new phase of this race. So the polls have closed in the 3 maritime provinces.
Yeah, one developing story, Omar, that we're keeping a close eye on. The Elections Canada website appearing to be down for some Canadians, for many right now going on the website. This is what they're seeing. We actually experienced it here in our breaking news center as well.
Talked about earlier in Atlantic Canada, but if they start to lose beachheads in Quebec or Ontario or in the prairies, that is not a good sign for the party.
My apologies, but we have a very significant declaration to make at the CTV decision desk. We are projecting now a Liberal minority government.
Huh, better than nothing, even though there's a lot of clouds, huh? Alright, see you guys later.